Squad's first pre-alpha gameplay was released back in 2014, and the game looked like this. A bunch of modders had just turned indie game devs and they were building it all in Unreal Engine 4. But now, 10 years later, I am happy to announce that Squad is officially coming to Unreal Engine 5. In fact, we've actually seen a sneak peek of what Squad in UE5 will look like with the early preview of the Al-Basra map rework. Yes, this was actually posted way back in August, and it's all in UE5. The devs have been hiding this from us in plain sight. Now, if this is coming as a surprise to you, well, it really should, because all of this information was released during an Off-World Industry Veterans Day charity stream. Sprinkled throughout the stream were hints of potential game leaks, and eventually the community manager, Siege, dropped an entire presentation of Unreal Engine 5 and the future of Squad, which included a sneak peek at the next update, Squad V8.2, and even things like anti-air weapons. Yeah, there was a lot of information here, so let's break it all down. First off, the devs want this announcement to act as the initial conversation around UE5, as they put it, and what that means is that they felt it was important to let the community know that all this work was happening behind the scenes. If they don't put out any updates for a while, it might seem that they're not actually developing the game, players might question what the devs are doing, and there's not going to be a lot of confidence in OWI as a studio. Well, they're actually doing quite a lot. Squad also went through a smaller engine upgrade back in 2023, which moved from 4.10 to 4.27, and that alone was a pretty big feat for the dev team, but UE5 is a completely different beast. As of now, the devs have broken up the UE5 development process into 3 different stages. The first stage, as I mentioned earlier, we've actually already seen. The Al-Basra rework announced earlier this year is being done completely in Unreal Engine 5, and playtesters in the closed playtest group have actually already been playing it for the past few months. Now, due to the potential issues when migrating a game from UE4 to UE5, the devs have only been able to test using the US Army and insurgent factions right now, but as development continues and bugs are found and dealt with, these factions will be expanded to cover everything we currently have in game. The second stage of development is a complete overhaul of the vehicle physics system and potential implementation of the new UE5 improved lighting technology called Lumen. Now, I'll showcase the vehicle physics stuff in a minute, but one thing I really appreciate the devs saying here is that this is all a huge work in progress. Features like UE5's Lumen might look great. The environments and the new illumination and reflection systems might seem to be an upgrade when just looking at images or rendered videos, but the devs are really not sure what's going to work when it comes to optimization and performance in an actual game of Squad. Epic themselves have a UE4 to UE5 migration guide for developers, and the amount of backend work the devs have to do is insane. It's not as simple as just copy-pasting the project files and open it in Unreal Engine 5. There are a bunch of new features in the new engine that can greatly improve performance, but you need to do it right. One of these new features is called Nanite, and without getting too deep into it, it's essentially a new and efficient way to render triangles on screen, making it easier to include more meshes, but the engine is now able to render more of those faster, which uses less memory and takes up less disk space. Basically, if done correctly, Nanite can make things look a lot better and you can have better FPS. So for all y'all seeing this announcement and saying, great, now with UE5, my 35 FPS is going to drop to 3.5 FPS, well, that really shouldn't be the case. But again, that's also why the devs are being extremely direct and telling us straight up from the get-go, we're not sure what's going to work and what isn't, but we're going to figure it out. Part of what they are figuring out right now is how the engine can handle vehicle physics, and we have some incredible new videos to show just what we should expect. In UE5, Squad's vehicle physics will have properly implemented torque and traction. Vehicles can move up and over slopes properly, axles will move much more realistically, tracks and track wheels will respond to small hills and rocks as they would in the real world, getting stuck in trenches should be a thing of the past, and the piece de resistance, we can now get over those frustrating low walls that are all over the maps. All of this frankly looks incredible, and if you're a vehicle player, I'm pretty sure you've had moments in game where you've died simply because you got high centered on a tiny rock or log. But that's not all.
We have had several discussions with the designer that's on my team about running into shit and just kind of dead stopping your vehicle, like this tiny little wooden fence post. I can't say details, but a solution will be in the works at some point, hopefully next year, I don't know what our estimated timeline for release that. But during our company summit this week, we explored a lot about different ways that we can solve this problem. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
There's like Slippery Sheila was like, Patrick, what does this mean?
So that's Patrick, one of the lead programmers in the UE5 conversion team, and he all but confirms that squads should have some form of destruction in the future. Not only should we be able to move over low walls, but we might be able to even break through fences and other small map assets. Just to reiterate, he didn't outright say it, but with the new chaos destruction system introduced in UE5, it definitely seems feasible and looks like the devs are exploring those options right now. So do I think we're going to get full destruction, including buildings and terraformed craters from artillery? Probably not, but even if it just ends up as simple as being able to run through fences or sheds or crush logs and other small assets, that would already be a huge win. Things like those small metal playgrounds or tiny barrels that are scattered around really shouldn't be preventing multi-ton vehicles from moving, so I really hope the devs are cooking up something good to show off sometime in the future. And this is where the reality of game dev comes in. There was an entire slide in this presentation dedicated just to the risks and challenges of this upgrade, and it's one of the first times I've actually heard OWI be incredibly direct with us. Compare it to the more PR language we've seen earlier this year. Siege just came out and said, we want to do this, but if we give you a date for release and have to push it back, it's because we need it to work right. A 2-month delay could all of a sudden pop up, and although that would suck, it would be far worse if Squad went from being a game everyone could play to one that nobody could without a NASA computer. The dev work they're doing in UE5 is a lot. It's incredibly labor and resource intensive, and because of this, actual Squad content for future patches will be slow to release. They even confirmed that new maps are in the works, but it really wouldn't make sense to release everything right now when UE5 is coming. It's a tough spot for the studio since they obviously want to improve the game that we're playing right now, but taking the time to fix what's broke in UE4 just means they not only have to redo it all in UE5, but when it is redone in UE5, it could have been done in a completely different process. I really appreciate OWI just being blunt here, and I'm really excited to see what comes next. But UE5 was not the only thing discussed in this stream. We're actually going to be getting a new squad update sometime this month, and Squad V8.2 has quite a lot coming. There will be battle group balancing to adjust over and underpowered units. The invasion game mode will be standardized further to make it more engaging on all maps, and the PLA will get an upgraded uniform, which will be their new Shinkong or Starry Skies camo. But we're also going to be getting a new friends list. Many people over the years have mentioned that it would be great to party up and join a friends server, and this looks like to be the first implementation of a system like that. Right now, and what we're going to be getting in 8.2 is that this friends list is in the programmer art stage, as they put it, meaning that the functionality is there, but this will most likely look very different in the future. You can add friends, you can see if they're online, check out not only what server they're in, but also what faction they're playing as, and you can even use this to join their game. The devs have stated that this quote-unquote can be built up to be something bigger, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get some sort of fully fledged party and lobby system in the future, or even an in-game clan system, which would be really cool. And that's not all. 8.2 will also include gunplay tuning. Now, in this slide, they actually wrote gunplay tuning, but I'm reading this as fixing the ICO. As y'all know, I've been a huge fan of the ICO since it was released, but I'm also aware that some weapons just don't feel right and make it a painful experience to play the game at times. Although we don't have the specifics just yet on what this tuning will entail, Siege invited a few playtesters who were in chat to share their opinions, and it seemed as if it was overall very positively received. More info on this weapon tuning is hopefully to come this week, and if I do get early access to it, I of course will share with you guys. Now, to wrap this all up, although we don't have a date for when this stuff will be released, the devs have confirmed we will be getting anti-air weapons, flares, more attack helicopters, and even Javelin anti-tank launchers. In these clips here, you can see the MANPADS prototype they've been testing. Do not focus on the placeholder asset since this really just looks like an RPG, but instead let's look at the functionality. The weapon appears to be part of the player's kit, so I would guess we'd actually have an anti-air role, not unlike a lat or hat player, and you have audio cues to let you know that you're tracking a target and then when it's locked on.
So you can see in the bottom right, it says MANPADS prototype, and that's why it changes from an RPG to this weird ship thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
So same technique.
In this clip, we can see the weapon fire and track the helicopter all the way to its target where it impacts, but in another clip we can actually see the helicopter flare out, eventually fooling the missile, and the helicopter flies away safely. In addition to this, we also saw an attack run of an Mi-8 with Hydra rocket pods, and the devs did confirm that more attack helicopter variants will be added in the future. Now, there's no indication that we're going to be getting things like Apaches, but at least we're going to have more than just a little bird. Oh, and one last fun fact, apparently the devs had to color the helicopters bright red or bright blue because playtesters kept accidentally shooting down their own helicopters. Just like everything else in Squad, as an AA player, you're still going to have to positively ID your target or you're going to have a bad time. And that is everything announced for Squad in this surprise charity stream. I'm absolutely floored at the amount of content coming. I'm excited to see what weapon tuning will mean for V8.2. I can't wait to see more of UE5, and the new AA and flare systems showcased here have me putting a lot of faith back into the dev team. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really pumped for the future of Squad. But what do you guys think? Are you okay with slower and less frequent updates if that means we get an optimized UE5 Squad in the future? Do you like what you're seeing with the new anti-air system being worked on? Or maybe you don't care about any of that and just want the ICO fixed in 8.2. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. But that's it for me. Until next time, peace.